What if the best AI strategy is already being built on the edges of your company? Well, today I'm joined by Andy Sen, CTO at AppDirect, and we're flipping the usual playbook today. Instead of a top-down mandate and big bang project, my guest today will argue that the smartest path begins by watching how your people are already working. Yep, those junior team members who have been playing with AI long before most of the other teams. And they test it in the wild, they bend it to their daily task and surface patterns that leaders don't always see. And at AppDirect, that bottom-up energy is measurable. So AI now writes over half of the new code landing in production. Non-developers are spinning up small internal apps for training and recognition, and chatbots handle real questions from real users. And the common thread here is simple to say and harder to do. Just build a safe digital playground. Let people experiment, don't ban things, and scale what works. So we'll talk about saying yes with guardrails, not with red tape. And that means enterprise accounts with LLM providers, clear rules on data and IP, and even pitting one model against another to audit code and audit policies. And most exciting of all, as an ex-IT guy, we'll unpack measurement of everything too, because pilots that never ship are just theatre. And Andy's lens is practical, grounded, and ultimately fun, because it meets leaders where they're at right now. And if 78% of companies have touched AI and only seeing a few returns, maybe the question isn't whether we double down, but where do we look first, or where should we look first? So are you ready to look out for those bottoms-up wins inside your own walls and turn them into outcomes that actually count? Well, hopefully I've got you all excited. So I'm Andy's warm-up man today, but let's get him on now and we'll talk about all this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'm glad to be on this show. My name is Andy Sen. I'm the CTO of AppDirect, which is a cloud subscription company. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I've been at AppDirect for 15 years. I work remotely out of Austin, Texas. And before joining AppDirect, which was a new startup at that time, I've always been in the e-commerce arena. So I've worked at places like IBM, Walmart Labs. I was part of the team which was in the early days of Salesforce's App Exchange. So anything related with e-commerce and just the idea of buying and selling on the internet has pretty much been my career. So happy to talk about that or anything else that comes up.
Wow, you've had quite a career there. And I would imagine how we buy and sell things online has changed and evolved so much over the years. And I think right now, so many organizations are, they're experimenting with AI. That's all everyone's talking about. But especially earlier this year, only a few were starting to see real financial returns or real return on investment. Why do you think that gap exists?
Yeah, so I actually saw that report, and to be honest, it was surprising to me. I'll talk a little bit about our experiences with AI, and I'm wondering if people aren't jumping a step ahead and measuring AI successes by some very second-order things like company revenue or payroll. Like those are big ticket items which depend on a lot of things. Now, if you zoom in, I think it's pretty easy to show where AI is having an impact. For example, just at our company, we use AI in a bunch of different fields. So, for example, for developing software, we can see that the thousands of lines, well over 50% of lines, which are now of code, which are entering our product, is being written by AI. So that's obvious and measurable. We see in things like both internal and external chats for help, whether it's somebody inside the company looking for HR information or someone outside the company asking about questions for a product. We see that there's actual usage that's measurable, that's obvious, you can see it. And even in something a little bit bigger, we've been using AI to essentially, I hate the term, but it's called vibe coding, to like just quickly come up with small applications. Now, these are actual applications, things like training sites or things like employee recognition software that we were paying another company for this, and now we've just developed it internally, rolled it out. And again, that's a very measurable benefit. We are no longer spending money on an external service. We've built something in-house using AI. Sometimes using AI by people who have never built commercial software before. So yeah, I've seen those reports as well, but I think if you go down a little deeper, you can easily find measurable things that AI is improving in your company.
And you hit the key word for me there when you said measurable. I mean, I used to be in IT, and the belts and braces approach to all things IT were you can only improve what you measure. You should focus on the problem first, then look for the tech, not the other way around. And one of the reasons I bring that up, I mean, you've spoken previously about this bottom-up approach to AI adoption. Tell me more about that and what that looks like in practice.
Absolutely. So again, I'm not discounting larger initiatives, larger company-wide initiatives to use AI. Those are very important, and people are doing it. But a lot of the benefits that we're seeing from AI is coming from the ground up. It's the individual employee or the individual small department which knows how to best improve what they're doing. And what we have done is we've kind of opened the floodgates. We have given people a secure environment. I've sometimes used the word digital playground for people to use AI, where they can do something as simple as, well, I can use AI to ask questions, but I can also do things like I can feed AI the documents that I normally use and analyze and have that spit out. There's always somebody who's like a bit of a tinkerer. They like to play with this stuff. And they build something a little bit more sophisticated. They build something like, well, it's not just a chatbot. How can I quickly create a screen and a UI where I can type in things which previously I had to jump from screen to screen? How can I create a quick AI bot which goes to 4 different websites I used to log in, which logs in for me, extracts information, and gives me a report which I can read. So small things, but things which dramatically improve the productivity. And these are things that would be impossible at a level of a CIO or a CEO to even understand that these are bottlenecks that employees are having. But if you just open it up to the people, not everyone's going to want to innovate this way, but there's enough people who are attracted by how they can make their lives better with AI. And you get a lot of these benefits bubbling up into the organization.
And you mentioned that digital playground there, which I think we've all been playing in over the last few years. And that more recently, there's a lot of businesses struggling to get some of those projects out of pilot phase. So I'm curious, from what you're seeing here, how do you identify and scale the grassroots AI experiments happening amongst some of the junior employees and bring them into broader enterprise solutions that make a real difference?
Yeah, so you mentioned that how you like the idea of measuring, and there's nothing better or a better way of measuring than actual success. You let people go out there, build their own solutions. We have a platform called devs.ai, which we're very excited about, which everyone's using. We let people build things, and we let them talk about it. When they come back and say that, hey, this is something that my department is doing, and here's a pattern that I'm using. We then encourage other departments to see if that's something that they can use. Now, this can take the idea of hackathons. This can take the idea of AI champions. There are some people, again, not software developers, but people who just got really excited about the technology. I mean, I relate. I'm very excited about the technology. And we encourage them to kind of talk to the organization about what they're doing, help other people on the journey. So again, it's a very much almost a cultural approach where we recognize and celebrate people who are using AI to do something different, who are using AI to innovate, and we just encourage that. And at this point, that's all you really need. I mean, again, there are much bigger initiatives at a company level or at R&D level that we're doing, but a lot of the benefit we are seeing is just from this bottoms-up approach.
And you mentioned there the importance of recognizing people. So, what role should maybe leadership teams be playing when AI adoption just begins organically from the ground up there? It feels like a magical moment, but what should leaders be looking out for, and what role should they be playing there?
I would say two things. One is, just ask the question. Ask the question and understand what's happening in your organization. A lot of times leaders just miss that. They don't even realize some of the innovative things that people have been doing. So going out there and knowing what's going on is obviously step number one. And then step number two is, there are issues around AI adoption. There are issues around decentralized building up, things around security, things around maintaining the intellectual property, making sure that you're not doing something which inadvertently is breaking some kind of regulation. So making sure that everyone is informed about what you can and can't do, what's permissible and not. But more about, like, when a solution comes up, it's really important not to look at it as a binary and say, like, well, this doesn't meet our requirements, we want to shut it down. No, the idea has to be, here's some things that people may not realize. How can we take the solution that someone's built and modify it so that it does fit what we do? So it's the default option is always yes, as opposed to saying no. But it's a yes, but, like, yes, but we need to modify it in a certain way so that it makes sense, it's regulatorily approved, and we can move forward with this.
And I'm curious, in your experience at AppDirect, what types of AI use cases are currently proving the most valuable to teams right now? Any trends, anything you're seeing there?
Sure. The most common theme is using AI to generate code, software development, and there's nothing different about that, but we're seeing pretty amazing results in terms of how we're using AI. But beyond that, the two things we're seeing, one is within each department being able to actually create small pieces of software. We're using things like Lovable or Cursor, and having people create small pieces of software. Maybe that's used by one person, maybe it's used by a handful of people, but it dramatically improves the workflow. It improves what the task that they've already been doing. I don't think we really expected this to happen because this whole idea of using AI to build software is a pretty new trend, but it's been pretty amazing. And then the third thing is, we're a distributed organization. We have employees all over the world in many different time zones. So the idea of just taking your internal documentation, feeding it to an AI, and having that be the first line for any kind of internal questions, that's also proved to be very successful. And that's hard to measure if all you're measuring is financial statistics. But if you just look at it and say that, okay, here's the number of questions that's been answered by the AI, well, that is minutes or hours that some other employee didn't have to spend doing it. So it only affects the bottom line in a couple of steps, but it's a pretty dramatic difference in terms of the actual work and the employee experience that's happening.
And we're talking today as we approach, 3 years since ChatGPT arrived. And when it did arrive 3 years ago, many businesses reacted by just banning it straight away. There were a lot of concerns around feeding company data into this machine learning algorithm. But fast forward to present day, how can companies strike a better balance between giving employees the freedom to experiment and also ensure governance, compliance, security, and all those other IT kind of aspects are maintained at the same time?
So I think all the LLM, well, I won't say all, but most of the LLMs have actually done a good job of recognizing this issue. They all provide enterprise licenses or enterprise accounts where they guarantee that the data that you're uploading will not be shared to the wider community. So depending on how big an IT team you are, the size of your company, you can give direct agreements with these LLM providers, or you can use a service like the one we have, which I mentioned as the devs.ai, where we actually do that. We have enterprise agreements with all the leading LLMs, and any kind of agentic solution that's built on top of Dev's AI, we guarantee that your data is not going to go out to the entire world. So that's kind of the basic rule. But then beyond that, I mean, depends on what company you're in. You have regulatory issues, and it's kind of up to you as a leadership team to kind of make sure that any extra requirements that you have is inputted in, and it's understood both by the employees and the AI that's using it. Because you can tell the AI that, by the way, like, I'm in this industry, this is the kind of things that are not allowed. If you get a request for this, then come back and inform the people of the policy. So you can use AI for that as well. And then we do similar things for security. When you're vibe coding a solution with AI, at this point, again, as fast as things are moving, next week it could change completely. But at this point, secure coding is usually not a default priority of AIs. But you can tell it. You can tell the AI when you're building it that make sure that you have all these security standards in place. And then the other fun thing we have seen is when you use one agent to build a software, you can spin up another agent, which maybe is an LLM by a rival company, feed its kind of security guidelines and tell it to audit the work that the first LLM did. So there's a lot of interesting ways that you can have AI be compliant using AI itself.
And if we look a little further ahead here and give everybody listening a valuable takeaway, any advice that you would offer to any organization or leader listening that want to turn their AI pilots into scalable, measurable business impact, any advice, anything you'd give them to take away today?
I would say that, actually, I would say something that you mentioned is measuring is the most important thing. You take your pilot and you measure how well it's doing, where it's working, where it's not, and iterate on that. I'm of the belief that the whole idea of software development in general is an incredibly iterative one, but AI has accelerated that. I don't believe you can have a good AI project or an AI outcome by thinking by being very planned out and expecting a very structured journey. Building with AI or building on top of AI, it just really rewards iteration. And the only way you can successfully iterate is by continuously measuring. And I'm very optimistic based on what I've seen at AppDirect, based on what I've seen at our customers, that if you follow this approach, you will start seeing very encouraging results come out of it. So start building, keep iterating, keep measuring, and that positive kind of cycle will take you somewhere good.
Fantastic advice. And I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to share your insights and share your expertise with people listening around the world today. But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift. And that is, we have a Spotify playlist and an Amazon wish list. I ask my guests to either leave a song for the playlist or a book for the wish list. It could be either. I don't mind which, but what would you like to leave everyone listening and why?
Since we're talking about AI and transformation, I'd like to leave a book recommendation from a book whose original version was written way before AI. It's 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And it talks about the philosophy of startups, what makes startups successful, how the great startup founders think. And the interesting thing I would say about this book is it's less of a manual to read if you want to be a successful startup. I mean, it is. It's definitely, there's valuable insight. But its explanatory powers, I think, are amazing. So if you look at the state of the AI industry today, you look and see, like, what's going on? How is it that these companies 2 years old are being valued in the hundreds of billions? How is it that there, companies with like 5 researchers are raising billions of dollars? A lot of that structure of how the world is working can be explained very well by this book. So, definitely recommend that to people.
Awesome. Well, I will add that immediately to our Amazon wish list. And for yourself, Andy, anyone wants to connect with you or just find out more information about your work there, and of course, everything you're doing at AppDirect, where would you like to point everyone?
So, you can find out about the company at appdirect.com, but specifically around artificial intelligence, I would encourage everyone, both personally and in a corporate perspective, to go to devs.ai. devs.ai. That's our digital playground where we let anyone come in and build agentic solutions on pretty much any LLM in the world. So go there, play around with it, use it for your homework, use it for your company, and give us feedback.
Well, I'll ask everyone listening to check out those links. I'll put links there and let me know how you get on, because we did cover so much today. And the key message, having listening to you there, is that AI adoption starts by looking within your organization. And those junior employees that tend to be the first adopters of AI, they're integrating it into their workflows long before leaders take notice. So maybe they should pay more attention to what's going on there at the bottom. And as you said, instead of mandating AI tools from the top down, maybe organizations should take that bottom up approach to determine where AI can deliver the most value. But just thank you for shining a light on this and delivering that powerful message. Thanks for your time today, Andy.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
So what will you try this week that your team is already proving that works? Andy showed us how bottoms-up discovery beats slideware, and how a secure playground like Devs AI can unlock real experiments, and how leaders that say yes and then shape solutions to meet security and compliance are seeing really great things at the moment. So my takeaway today is pretty simple. Treat AI like a set of power tools that your people can just pick up, not a monument that arrives fully formed out of a box. So start where the energy already lives. Keep those guardrails visible, for sure, and make measurement your habit, not just a quarterly ritual. And if you do these things, the path from pilot to impact should stop feeling like that scary, overwhelming big leap and starts feeling more like a natural rhythm. So after hearing Andy's playbook from AppDirect, what's your first bottoms-up win that you're going to spot, shape and scale? Let me know. techblogwriteroutlook.com, techtalksnetwork.com if you want to find more episodes just like this one. Other than that, I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. We'll do it all again. Speak with you then. Bye for now.